consent.
Okay, I'd like to call the meeting to order, and we'll start by standing with a moment of silence and the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, Madam Clerk, get a roll call, please.
Jamie Girardi,
Here.
Christopher Poole, John Moody,
Here.
Matthew Munz,
Here.
Derek Potlin,
Here.
Richard Janella,
Here.
Chairman Charles Gray.
Here. And proof of publication, please.
The items are advertised in the Pennsylvania Times on May 1st, 2024, July 24th, 2024, August 21st, 2024, August 28th, 2024, and September 4th, 2024, or by affidavit of certified mailing and site posting.
All right, thank you very much. There'll be no minutes to approve, so we'll start with the instructions. We have, for those of you who haven't been here before, I'd like to welcome you. We are the Planning Commission. We're appointed by the Board of County Commissioners. We meet twice monthly. We serve as a local planning agency and hold public hearings, transmit to the Board of County Commissioners our recommendations on comprehensive plan amendments, land development code amendments, rezonings, and conditional use requests. The Planning Commission is the final decision-making body for special exceptions, certain appeals, variance requests, certain alternative standard requests. However, final decisions may be appealed to the Board of County Commissioners. If anyone is in opposition to any development code amendment, rezoning conditional use, or any item where we make a recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners, it'd be important for you to attend the appropriate Board of County Commissioner meeting. We have those dates available if anybody needs them later. For those of you who aren't familiar with the protocol, we have three areas that we deal with. First one is continuances. It's our custom to grant continuance if it's been requested by the applicant or the staff, unless there are some extenuating circumstances. And then we have consent agenda. Those are items that are on the agenda that where we have not received any written or verbal contacts with regard to items that they want to discuss today. We'll go through those items one at a time. If there are items on consent that you would like to have heard today, then please, as I read it off, raise your hand, and we'll pull it from consent and put it on with the regular items. The final section are the regular items, and those will be fully heard today. The applicants will have an opportunity to make their presentation. They'll have 5 minutes, and respondents, the people in the audience that have questions about it, will have 3 minutes to ask their questions. We try to stick to those times so it doesn't take us all day and all night. I don't think there's been any requests for additional time, is there?
Mr. Chair, there are no requests for additional time.
Okay. So if anybody has a phone on your possession, this would be a good time to put it on the silent position or turn it off, whatever you wish to do. Just want to try not to interrupt anybody that's speaking. As you come up and speak, we'll ask you to state your name and your address, and so that we can get it on the microphone so the clerk can record it properly. And so that's why we ask not to speak from the floor, from the audience, because we can't get that on tape. So we appreciate that. So before one thing I will mention too is as you're addressing your concerns, if you have concerns that you want to address, just address them to the entire board in general rather than any individuals. And we also try to make sure that we treat each other in a courteous manner. So I think that's the best policy. Before we start the regular meeting, there may be people here that are here to speak on an item that is not on today's agenda. Are there any of those people here? I see no one. Okay. So I guess we're ready.
Mr. Chair, Denise Hernandez, Planning, Development, and Economic Growth. We're going to start with item PC1, which is PDE 240440. It's a comprehensive plan amendment, CPA 2401, Hudson Industrial Park. This item is withdrawn from consideration, so there's no further action required.
Okay.
Moving on to item PC2, PDE 247783, zoning amendment, Dejan and Gordana Vujinovic. It's for a change in zoning from an AR district with conditions to an AR district. The request is to continue the item to the October 17th, 2024 Planning Commission meeting at 1:30 in Newport Ritchey.
Okay. Is the applicant present? Anyone here to talk about this one? Okay.
And for the record, I don't have anyone signed up to speak on WebEx for any of the items on today's agenda.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
The next continuance is,
Following item is PC3. It's PDE 247818, a zoning amendment, HCM Hospitality LLC. This is a request to continue the item to the October 17th, 2024 Planning Commission meeting at 1:30 in Newport Ritchey.
okay, 1017. All right, is the applicant present? Anyone here to object? Okay, see no one?
Following item is PC4, PDE 247779, zoning amendment, Siddiqui Rafat Ali. This is a request to continue the item to the October 17th, 2024 Planning Commission meeting at 1:30 in Newport Ritchey.
Is the applicant present? Anyone here to object? Okay,
Mr. Chair, we're going to move on a little bit in the agenda because item PC6, we got a request to continue that item as there were issues with the noticing on that item,
okay.
which that item is PC6, which is PDE 247810. It's SR52 Realty. I apologize, that's not the one that had any issues with posting. I apologize. Take that back. There's a request to continue. The item has nothing to do with posting or noticing. That's
Okay.
PC12, and we'll talk about that in a second.
Okay.
SR52 Realty LLC. SR52 is for a change in zoning from an AR Agricultural Residential District to an AR Agricultural Residential District, PO2 Professional Office District, and C2 General Commercial District. Again, the request is to continue the item to the October 17th, 2024 Planning Commission meeting at 1:30 in Newport Ritchey. And if you would please call to see if there's anyone here on that item.
And that is PC what?
PC6.
6. Okay, is the applicant present? Anyone here to object? Okay, see no one?
We're going to move on to PC12, which is the request for continuance that I stated due to there was an issue with noticing on that item. That is PDE 240387. It's a comprehensive plan amendment, CPAS 2407, Little Road Commercial, for a comprehensive plan amendment to the future land use map 252-15 and sheet 10 from Res 1, residential 1 dwelling unit per gross acre to COM, commercial. And the request is to continue the item to the October 17th, 2024 Planning Commission meeting at 1:30 in Newport Ritchey.
Okay, is that applicant present? Anyone here to object? Okay,
And that was all the continuance items.
all right, do I hear a motion?
Motion to continue items PC2, PC3, PC4, PC6, and PC12 to October 17th, Newport Ritchey.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Okay, motion carries.
Okay, on item PC5, that item will be pulled, which is PDE 247819. I will say that for housekeeping purposes, there's an ex parte form from John Moody and one from Jamie Girardi. To the extent that those have not been provided to the clerk's office, we will be providing those.
Okay,
That's PC5, so that's pulled.
okay. So.
Moving on to
consent.
PC7. PC7 is PDE 247817, zoning amendment in the name of Anodyne 54 LLC. It's for a change in zoning from a C1 neighborhood commercial district to a C2 general commercial district with a voluntarily agreed upon deed restriction that states that the uses are those uses to be consistent with the C2 general commercial district. It's also known as a Live Local Act deed restriction. Comes to you with a recommendation of approval.
All right, is the applicant present? Anyone here to object? Okay,
Item PC8, which is PDE 247795, that is being pulled. As is item PC9, which is PDE 747826, that will be pulled as well.
okay,
So we're going to move on to item PC10. Item PC10 is PDE 240179. It's a comprehensive plan amendment, CPAS 2324, Diagonal Road Business Park. It's for a small-scale comprehensive plan amendment to the future land use map, map 2-15 and sheet 03, changing it from ROR Retail Office Residential to IL Industrial Light on 16.84 acres for a property located at the southeast corner of the intersection of Diagonal Road and New York Avenue. And on that item, there is an ex parte communication with Mr. John Moody that was presented to us, and that will be sent over to the clerk's office shortly. The request is that you find it consistent with a comprehensive plan.
okay. So is the applicant present? Pardon me? Oh, that's okay. Anyone here to object? Okay,
Following item is item PC11, that is PDE 240340, is a comprehensive plan amendment, CPAS 2406, Massachusetts Commercial, for a comprehensive plan amendment to future land use maps 2-15 and sheet 18, changing from Res 12 dwelling units per gross acre, to COM Commercial on 3.05 acres of property, which is located on south of Massachusetts Avenue, approximately 1,300 feet west of the intersection of Massachusetts Avenue and Rowan Road. The request on that one, there is a change needed. Your attachment 2, there's an issue with your call-out box. It's being moved forward, and that information was presented to the clerk's office. That correction is just your map exhibit for the comp plan amendment. And on that one, there is a voting conflict. Mr. John Moody has submitted that, and that will be submitted to the clerk's office as well. We're asking that you find it consistent with the comprehensive plan.
all right, the applicant present? Anyone here to object? Okay,
Do you want to take that one separately since John can't vote on that one?
is that, let's see, is that all our consents? No,
Well, just a
has to
separate,
be a
separate
separate
vote.
consent
Yeah,
vote, yeah.
separate vote, yeah.
yeah, that's the last consent.
That is the last consent, because item PC13 is a presentation.
Okay, so we want to make a motion to approve those items left on consent with the exception of PC 11.
Yeah, motion to approve PC 7 and PC 10 on the consent agenda?
Second.
Okay, any further discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign? Okay,
I'll move approval of PC 11 on the consent.
okay, and we have a second? Motion and a second. Noting that Commissioner Moody is abstaining. So we have a motion and a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign? Very good.
And we'll move to item PC5, which will be presented to you by Liam Devine.
Okay.
Liam Devine, Planning Development and Economic Growth Department. I know Denise went over some ex partes communications already for some housekeeping purposes. For other housekeeping purposes, there was a revision to the memo in condition number 6. I know you were all sent that, and so was the clerk. Basically, that was revising condition 6 to state after dedication rough proportionality, adding the language unless otherwise determined by FDOT. And then after that, it should also say the owner/applicant shall instead of may. So that would be the revision to condition number 6. And this is PC 5, PDE 24-7819. It's a special exception request for a self-storage facility in C1 Neighborhood Commercial District in the name of Lake Thomas Plaza LLC. The future land use is ROR under the comprehensive plan, and the applicant's request is to develop the property with a self-storage facility in conformance with C1 Neighborhood Commercial District standards, the conditions of approval for the special exception, and the Land Development Code Section 1105 self-storage facility design standards. And the subject site is on the west side of Land O'Lakes Boulevard, approximately 185 feet south of Darter Road. It's also located in the central market area and is outside the urban concentration of areas. Here's an aerial view of our map. Here's a zoomed in aerial of the subject site area. This is only a portion of the entire parcel. The surrounding future land use to the north is Res 6, to the east is ROR, to the south is ROR and Res 6, and to the west is Res 3 and Res 6. The surrounding zoning to the north is MPUD, the Little Lake Thomas MPUD. To the east is R2 and C2. To the south is R1, R3, and C2. And to the west is R3 and MPUD, Little Lake Thomas MPUD. The subject site is undeveloped on approximately 2.1887 acres. Again, that's only a portion of the entire parcel. Access to the property is from Land O'Lakes Boulevard, which is an FDOT maintained arterial roadway. Here's the applicant's conceptual site plan. And this is coming with recommendation for approval with conditions from Planning, Development, and Economic Growth Department. I'm here if you have any questions.
Okay, any questions from up here yet? Okay. The applicant's present?
Mr. Chairman, Clark Hobby, Hobby and Hobby, PA 109 North Brush Street, Tampa, Florida. Did we do swearing in today, Mr. Chairman?
We did not.
I don't recall being sworn in.
You're worried about yourself, is that it?
As we've discussed many times, I'm used to being sworn at, but I feel like maybe I need to be sworn in too.
That's a good idea. So, right now, for anybody who plans to get up and give testimony, if you please stand, raise your right hand, and be sworn.
Do you swear or affirm that the testimony you're about to give is the truth, so help you God?
I do.
Thank you, Mr. Hobby.
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman. Can we use an Elmo instead?
This thing does not.
Got it?
The Elmo doesn't work.
Oh, the Elmo's. So do you need my? Oh, here it is. Tech issues, sorry. Mr. Chairman, you heard from staff that the subject properties on 41, it's about equidistant between Tower Road and School Road. And it's a small property that already has ROR and C1 and would allow some pretty intense retail uses. Our client wants to build a self-storage facility on the site, and as you'll see in just a minute, the site benefits from a planning perspective by a couple of things that I think are making the site easier on our neighbors for this type of use. One is Lennard recently developed a townhome site immediately to the north, And on that site, they chose on their site to put a park on the south 100 feet or so. And so there's already a vegetated, heavily vegetated, effectively 100-foot area between our site and their two-story townhouses. On the south side of the site, there is a small parcel that's about 100 feet in width that's undeveloped, that's heavily vegetated, and a C2 site that's also there. And so, as you'll see in a minute from staff, the upshot is that we basically have about either 120 to 150 feet from any residences from the site. The overall site that we have, I want to say, is around 5 acres. This is just the frontage parcel. The rear of the parcel has office zoning on it, and so it's intended over time that it would be developed, if at all, as office. And I'm very much aware that our neighbors to the south are part of the preserve. That's one of our premier communities, and very well thought of, with a strong HOA out in that area. So we wanted to make sure that we had an adequate buffer or distance between them. And as I measure it, we are essentially, from the first area, you might be able to see this site about 500 feet from a residence's lot. So this is just showing you some of the stuff we can go on past this site. We can go maybe the next page there, Patty. It's, you got to go on the right on the PDF. I'm sorry for not doing this in a PowerPoint. It's not.
Yeah, it's not, oh wait, maybe I didn't, yeah, it's not letting me go.
All right, well, don't worry about that. You've gotten the upshot of it. As I said, I think we're required to install a type B buffer on the south. There is already a type B buffer with an 8-foot fence along the north side. So I think we've got a lot of buffering, and I've talked with, I think, 3 of the neighbors who are here, and what they're concerned about is some drainage issues that started with a development to the north. And I, will tell the Planning Commission, as I always do, we're happy to meet with them after the hearing and have them meet with our engineer, more importantly, who's not here. We have a good local engineer. And if there are issues going on with some drainage feature not being maintained or something like that, that may be causing an existing drainage issue, we'd like to help solve it if we can, or at least point out to them what the feature is that maybe needs some maintenance. So I'm happy to listen to their comments, but I think the project in general is approving a use that's less intense than the C1 uses that are already out there. So thank you.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for Mr. Hobby? No? Okay. All right, anybody from the public wish to speak? Please come forward and state your name and address, please.
My name's Katrina Madewell, and I own the property directly to the south, in front of Lake Thomas, which I know a lot of the residents are also here. That property is zoned residential. I didn't get the notice from the attorney even until yesterday, so I do have some concerns, obviously, and a lot of questions. Flooding is definitely one of them. We've noticed a difference since the townhomes were put in, and this property has not flooded before. Another thing is, I'm not sure how tall this building is supposed to be, and I'm unfamiliar with what a type B buffer is. And so, obviously, with a residential property right next door, I have a lot of concerns and questions. I've also not had a chance to talk to council or anything on how this might affect me or the value of the property.
Okay. Well, he's making notes, I see, back there about your questions, so he'll come back up when everybody's done and try to answer those questions, and then
Great.
you can also have more discussions afterward. He'll make himself available. Is that right, Mr. Hobby? Mr. Hobby? Yeah, you'll be available after the meeting? Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you very much. Who would like to speak next? Again, if we could just have your name and address.
Hello, my name is Debbie Gunlogson. I live on Marsh Hawk Drive, which is in the preserve at Lake Thomas. And that's the road that abuts the Lake Thomas townhomes that were just built a couple of years ago. We were assured as a community then that we would not have any flooding problems, any standing water problems, that their engineers had the retention ponds planned so that there would be a floodplain avoided for us. And that has proven false already. Now, I've lived on my property for 20 years, and we've had rising water in our 20-foot easement before. And it would last maybe 2 or 3 days and go. It would drain properly the way it's supposed to. Along came Hurricane Debbie on the 3rd or 4th of August, and that water has not gone away. And a couple of weeks after Hurricane Debbie, we had a couple of bad storms. The water from the retention ponds of the, whatever they're called, Lake Thomas towns, came right up to the fence and was lapping. And it was maybe a distance of this much before it hit my ditch that was already full. And then it would hit my pool, my seawall pool. And I'm in fear, and it's still there. And I'm in fear of losing the foundation. And it's not just me, all the other homes along Marshall, it's the same thing. Now, my concern with the storage facility is if we're already having a problem draining from pond to pond, however it's supposed to go, it's not working now. And I need to be assured, and I don't know engineer talk, that this won't get worse. We won't lose our pools, our foundations, our homes.
Right.
And I'm not convinced. Is my
Yeah,
time up?
well, again, we'll try to answer those questions, and the good thing is that we have like 3 engineers on this board, so they'll be very well versed on those issues, so.
We do have tons of footage. Many of the neighbors took videos and showed the water, where it was and how it's, almost joining with that retention pond on the other side.
Where's your property in relation to where that lake is and all?
Do you see the Marshall Drive?
Yes?
Okay, where it straightens out? Yes,
There?
I'm
Okay.
backing up right to that retention pond.
Oh, okay, that's the one of concern, huh?
Yes.
Okay.
And we have another neighbor here who backs up right to the Barkley Lake, which is where the storage facility is going to be. And that's another flooding issue. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Thank you very much for coming.
Hello, my name is Deborah Lynn Gillis. I live at 21347 Marsh Hawk Drive and have lived there for 22 years. First of all, let me say that I think that you could probably step out your front door and go to anyone in Land O'Lakes and ask them if they wanted another storage unit. You probably know better than I do how many storage units we have on Land O'Lakes Boulevard. And I do realize that storage units do not create as high of a traffic problem as, for example, condominiums, but I also believe that the board is putting in place businesses to support condominiums and apartments, hence the car washes and the storage units. And that is really not what Land O'Lakes is about. And Land O'Lakes is called Land O'Lakes because it's already full of lakes, and it is a marshland, and it floods almost at every turn, particularly during heavy rainy seasons. My house, first of all, to comment on the flooding, you will see Lake Barkley, which is the lake on the right. This is a natural Florida spring-fed lake. It is not a retention pond. You can get out in a canoe and you can see the spring boil, which is on the north side of the lake. Now, it appears to me that these storage units have, the square is drawn all around that, so it looks like to me they're going to own all of the lake, okay? But back onto the storage units. When they were put in, we came to this meeting, we were guaranteed that there would not be flooding. The long, skinny lake that's on the other side of what she was just talking about, that has drainage into the big Lake Thomas, 276-acre ski lake down there. Our property all has frontage to that. But the smaller retention pond on the right is the one that's causing the problem. Now the long, narrow one has gone down, but the one on the right has not. And that, when Swift Mud was out 2 days ago, they told our people that met with them that that lake that retention pond has been designed to drain into Lake Barkley. We are concerned that if more flooding or more runoff comes from the storage units at Lake Barkley, it's very high. It's very, very high right now. So that is the problem, that second one there. My complaint is not about flooding. I have put in a seawall on the back of my property to Lake Barkley 20 years ago because I was zoned when I moved into the house, flood zone. And I came over here and I got that lifted because we put in a seawall. My concern is, and I brought my cell phone, if you want to see the view off of my swimming pool straight out to the back of that property, it's just beautiful. But I will be looking, if it's going to be 35 feet high, that's what I'm going to be looking at, the back of storage units. And I'm concerned that it's going to affect my property value tremendously. I want to know from the developer what they're going to do as far as building up the fill. Of course, it was built a way up when they put in our development. Some of our lots slope way down. If they bring in a lot of fill, Katrina Madewell, the first gal that just spoke to you, she's going to be in a gully because she's got that small piece of land just to the south of them. And if they put that real high and then our development's real high, she's going to be right in a gully. So that's all I have to say. There are several concerns about this, not just the flooding, not just the flooding. And her husband has been trying to maintain the drainage on the front between these two pieces of property. He's ill right now, and he's not been able to keep up with it. There's already problems. So thank you.
Okay.
I know I'm over time. Thank
No,
you.
that's okay. Thank you.
Questions?
Any questions?
Do you want to see the picture out my backyard? Do you want to see the deer that have been there and are no longer going to be there?
Thank you. Who would be next? Anybody else like to speak? Have any questions?
I just have one more thing. It's not what I came here today, but.
I can't hear you when you're back there.
Okay. I thought I was loud enough.
Name and number.
My name is Gina Finicaro. I'm at 14140 Peace Boulevard, Spring Hill, Florida. I run an animal rescue and sanctuary. I am not here today for this storage unit, but I am for another one. How many storage units and how many car washes do we need? Is what I want to know. I think, is that the cheapest way for the developers to build the things that they're supposed to build, to bring in business for the people? I don't know. How many do we need?
We
How
can't,
many
we
do
can't
we
tell
need?
people what they can build as long as they qualify under the zoning laws. So we just need to, we're tasked to find out, is this the proper use of the property under the zoning law that exists? We can't deny somebody the opportunity to build something that maybe is not the best economic way to do it. That's their property. They've been paying the taxes on it.
But it'd be an eyesore to everybody else around the community.
Well, we try to take those things into consideration, you know.
And the flooding.
Yeah.
Okay. I'll come
All
back
right.
up when it's my turn again.
Okay, now you've already had a turn. Just
Can I come
teasing.
up for the other thing?
I'm just teasing.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. Okay, anybody else? Mr. Hobby? Got all those notes there?
Yes, sir. I was making notes, Clark Hobby again for the record. I'll try to answer these questions. Our neighbor to the south, who I've told we will meet with after the hearing today, because I want to hear from the neighbors about what they're experiencing on the drainage front. A mutual friend of ours is the engineer of record on the project to the north, so I want to make sure he knows what's going on there. But I also want our engineer to know, as I mentioned before, so if there are any problems, if something's blocked that was, normally would be in the design, if it needs to be fixed, we need to know. So, and I'll be happy to put them together on that. On the drainage front, I do have a bit of good news for them. Our client representative had spoken with our engineer of record, and we will not need to import any fill on this site. So we will not be further raising the site and exacerbating the drainage issues that the neighbor mentioned. Again, I would also point out there's a larger site, and in the back of this site, it's zoned for office. And I believe for the neighbor who lives across the lake, it will be a good transition. They're probably not going to be able to see a lot of this building because there'll be office buildings, there'll be a lake, and there's some trees and cypress trees there, then an office building, and then this storage facility. The height wouldn't be higher than 40 feet. That's what our current plan shows. Let me just see the other questions we had. Obviously, as you all know, there's not a whole lot I can do. I'm not a PE about the drainage stuff. That will have to be addressed during the site plan period when that occurs. But this is not a site that previously has had observed flooding. It's not in a closed basin. So it's really a matter of our engineer just doing the job that they do every day when they engineer sites to make sure that they're following the criteria of the county and SwiftMud so that they don't discharge higher volume or rate of stormwater than the pre-development flow was, and you all are well aware of that. Let's see. Obviously, the board has already created special standards for storage facilities, and they actually have architectural standards in the ordinance. We'll have to follow all of that. And the reason why we're sitting here today is that the board decided that this had to be a special exception in this zoning district. So that's why we're here today. We feel like this is a completely appropriate use, and we're following all the rules. And again, for the one neighbor immediately to the south, she did admit she got our notice. And I have the certificate of mailing from the post office that it was within the time. So I don't know if she was out of town or whatever the deal was. But I do have one other thing that I do want to offer for her benefit, if you'll indulge me, Mr. Chairman. As I said, we're required to have a type B as in boy buffer on the south side. But what we find with a lot of our neighbors is it's not clear which side, if you do use a fence or a wall, which side of your project the landscaping would go. And so if it's okay with you, I was going to read in a condition we would agree to clarify that, and it would read as follows. Applicant/developer shall install a type B buffer with an 8-foot vinyl fence along the south side of the subject parcel, and the required shrubs or other landscaping shall be installed on the south side of such fence.
In other words,
that way, the neighbor will get the benefit of the landscaping that the code requires. So with that, I'm happy to answer any other questions you may have.
Yeah, I mean, I think the biggest question that they seem to have is the nature of the drainage. So, I mean, I know that we've got engineers on this board. I mean, I just think maybe there needs to be some more explanation about what the requirement is in terms of not flooding somebody else's property.
Sure, absolutely. And again, I'm happy to put together, because that's a site planning function, I'm happy to have a meeting with these folks, with our engineer at a time in the future so that they can make sure they're working through that to hold our feet to the fire to follow the rules so that we don't exacerbate whatever their problems are. I also, I think those of us who are from here, which includes almost everybody, you know, behind the dais today, knows that we've had an extremely unusual amount of rain in the last 4 or 6 weeks. I was in Southwest Florida last weekend, and I was on a piece of property that had more water on it than anybody has ever seen in 50, 60 years. So it's just been a highly unusual period of rainfall, but that doesn't mean they don't have legitimate drainage issues, and we will do our best following the rules to make sure we don't cause a problem.
Yeah, one thing that I think we've all seen is that sometimes these drainage canals and areas and where the connection points are get clogged and they're not properly maintained.
Right.
And that's what happens. They back up, the water backs up, and it has nowhere to go.
That's
So,
right. And sometimes the county doesn't maintain it, sometimes it's a CDD or an
Right.
HOA, and the preserve has been there long enough, there could be something on their side. I'm not saying that that's what the issue is.
Yeah.
There could be a problem with this small lake that she's talking about that goes around the other ones, that it's something is clogged between there and Lake Thomas. I don't know, but again, we'll look at that, because I know, that we're using Scott's standard on this, and he certainly does not want to create a project that floods his neighbors. No engineer in our area wants to do that.
I do know the amount of rain that came down during Debbie was beyond what most engineers would design stormwater systems for, and some of the rain that we've seen over the last few weeks, so.
We got 10 inches of rain in 2 days in our area, and that's not customary. We're used to getting a lot of rain in the summer, but that was a lot.
So the general rule is that when a property is developed, the amount of discharge of stormwater after development can't exceed the amount of stormwater that discharged prior to development.
Yes, sir.
All that being said, these ponds are designed to operate at the average wet season high water table elevation. So when you get a tropical storm like Debbie on top of a summer rainy season, the wet season water table is now higher than the average wet season high water table, which slows the release of the water out of these stormwater systems. And I think that's why there's a lot of folks right now that are experiencing flooding problems. Until those water tables recede as we get into the dry season, they're probably going to see these ponds stay at elevated levels.
I think that's probably true. And interestingly, Mr. Muti, I saw a thing on the news the other night. They asked one of the utility directors for the city of St. Petersburg if you know that it could rain one time as much as it has, the last month or so. Why don't you design all of your stormwater systems to account for that? And his answer was, I thought it was refreshing. It was very direct. He said, we could do that, but it would take up so much land and be so expensive that it's not worth us, meaning the city of St. Petersburg, designing to that extreme. And that's why the rules relate more to averages as opposed to extremes. So anyway, I just found that interesting.
Yeah, thank you.
Man can control the flow of water, but he cannot control how much falls out of the sky. If the Lord wants to make it rain for 40 days and 40 nights, it doesn't matter what size retention pond you design.
Right.
So, Brad, did you have something? No, I'm sorry, Liz.
That's okay. I just have a question about the notice that was raised. What was the address for the person who said she did not receive notice? I'm looking at your list
She said
here.
she got it, but she said she got it later. She told me before the
But
meeting.
what was the address?
5903 Land O'Lakes Boulevard.
Okay.
But she said she got it, Elizabeth. It just, I think she was out of town, that's all.
I didn't get it till yesterday because my mailing address was changed.
Not a whole lot I can do about that. Anyway, if the board is so inclined, again, I would ask that you include that condition that I had in there.
All right.
All right, thank you.
Brad?
Brad Tippett, Planning Development, Economic Growth. Regarding that condition to put the landscaping on the outside of the fencing, since we just have a single property owner here that's going to be benefiting, I was wondering if we could confirm with her that she's going to be okay with that, because one of the issues that we run into is that landscaping is maintained by the storage facility. So there's going to be people coming on her side of that fence to do that work, and it can often appear like they're in her yard, and a lot of people prefer to have the fence on the edge of the boundary rather than landscaping when it's up against residential. So since it's one person, I was wondering if she wanted to just confirm that.
Yeah, would you
for us.
come forward, please, because we got to get you on record. I was thinking while they're there, they could just do your whole yard. What do you think?
Again, I'm Katrina Madewell, 5903 Land O'Lakes Boulevard. This stuff that I'm seeing on the screen is the first time I've ever seen this. And so I have some concerns because I thought in the earlier part when I was hearing this being presented, they said there were no residential properties next to this, and it's not true because my property is zoned residential. And if you scroll into that small little sliver of property, which is mine, you'll see there's only 6 feet from the edge of the house to the property line. And I really feel like I should have the opportunity to talk to an attorney about this before it can, I don't know if you have to file a continuance or how this works. Clearly, I'm not an attorney, but I am a property owner in Pasco County, and I've lived here my whole life, and I should have the opportunity to consult with an attorney about this before we move forward. I'm not saying you can, I'm not trying to fight whatever is built on it or not built on it. I'm just saying I should have a right to talk to an attorney and just understand how this might impact my property value or me as a homeowner, and then go from there. I understand people are gonna build what they're allowed to build on the property. So I'm not trying to stop it. I'm just trying to understand, and I think it should be fair to me that I have the opportunity to talk to an attorney about this before it gets approved.
So is this your home on 5903?
Yeah, see, if you scroll in there, it's right where the numbers are. If you scroll in even further, and I have my survey with me, you will see there's only 6 feet. It's built at a little bit of an angle. The house was built in 1941. We spent a lot of money in it. It's been completely rehabbed. It was a terrible property. You can ask the neighbors before we bought it, but we've owned it for quite a while, and we've, like she said, my husband's been ill, and we've been trying to maintain it, including mowing the ditch, because otherwise we get water on our property, and it was so much water I couldn't even get out of the car to go in the front door the other day.
Could you explain what you said about your address changing? What do you mean?
Yeah,
Why did you
this is
change
on a
your
major road, and we have another property, so I moved my mailing address to our other property.
Yeah, see, 5901 is the other one.
Well, no, this property has 2 addresses.
That's what I'm saying. 5901 is the other address?
No, I moved it to another address. It's another home that I own where I live.
Oh, okay.
And we store our boat and some other things on this property because we live in a community and there's no room for.
So what is the address that the notice went to?
I'm sorry, my address is on Scaglione.
So you received the notice at your Scaglione address?
Yeah, I got it forwarded by the post office, but I didn't get it till yesterday.
I understand. Okay, thank you, but it was forwarded from the previous.
Correct, it was. But I mean, you can't retain an attorney in 12 hours. I mean, that's kind of unrealistic.
Quick question for you, Brad. What's the width of a type B buffer?
Type B is generally 15 feet wide.
Okay.
So typically when they put a fence, they will put it on one side of that buffer or the other. When they put it against residences, we tend to have a preference from the residents that be actually the fence be towards them, because that gives them a more sense of closure of their property. Whereas when you actually put it back and have landscaping in front of it, the landscaping crews that come and maintain that, or all those people will actually be coming in it. There's a kind of a perception that they're on your property, and especially with a property that's as close to the boundary as this one, it's going to feel like they're right up there next to her house.
It looks like based on the area, it looks like the driveway is kind of there on the edge of that too, so you may have to move your driveway over a little bit. But.
Yeah, there's not a lot of room, because if you notice, there's a little cutout square in the front. That property is owned by someone else, and there's nothing they can really do on the property. They just are storing trailers there, like boat trailers and stuff. So our access to the property is already very limited. So obviously I'm concerned about if we move it, where is it gonna go? We're gonna have to cut down trees and all kinds of stuff just to get into the property.
So are you amenable to their suggestion that the type B buffer be reversed, where the fence is 15 feet from your property line, and then there's a 15-foot landscaping area that is on their side?
I think that would be better, yes, to have the landscaping and then the fence. I know that they're gonna build something. We're not dumb. We know it's gonna be built up of some type. I'm not trying to fight them on it, but I do wanna understand what's being built here. I tried to take a picture of where this was gonna be so I could see where it was in relation to my property in the house, but it went so quick I couldn't even get a picture with my camera. And like I told you, I didn't see this before today.
Well, I think we have pictures of the site plan. Can you get that up there? Or Clark, can you help with that? You have a site plan.
If you got the answer you needed from her about the landscaping.
Yes,
I think, is there any way for me to delay that answer, or do I have to give you an answer on this today?
Well, I think you said it just a minute ago that you'd rather have the foliage on your side of the fence. Didn't you?
If I might, Mr. Chairman, 2 things I would say. Number one, I think the type B is at 15 feet. We're willing to increase that to 25 in any event, and our latest plan actually shows the driveway going further away from her site, and we actually are trying to keep all of our improvements further away from her site. If I need to strike the motion I previously asked for, I'm fine, and I will delay it. We'll meet with her, and if she wants it on her side, we'll put it on her side. If she wants it on our side, we'll put it on our side. We want to be a good neighbor here, so we're happy to do whatever she would like.
Is that some,
So you want to continue?
is that something you can iron out between now and the Board of County Commission?
This is the
Oh, it's a special exception, that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I don't believe we need a continuance,
Yeah.
Mr. Chairman. Yeah, we would address this prior to site plan. And again, I'll meet with her as soon as she's ready, and she can bring a lawyer or engineer. That's all fine with us. Really a site planning issue as I see it.
Right.
Okay?
Yes, I think that makes a lot of sense. That's really what you're concerned about is the site plan.
Right, that's right. It's how we lay the site
What
out.
she's concerned about.
Okay? Thank you very much.
All right. Okay. No, I'm sorry, we only have you one time. We'd be going all back and forth. Okay. Anything else? If not, hear a motion.
Mr. Chair?
Yeah.
I did also want to add that I did mention that there was an ex parte on this item with Mr. John Moody and with Jamie Girardi. There's also one with Mr. Derek Pontlitz as well. Just wanted to state that for the record.
Okay.
Move to approve item PC5.
Yeah, we're not going to deal with the landscape buffer then. They're going to deal with it at site plan?
Yep.
Or are you going to put something in there?
That would be my contention, is that regardless of whether this property's developed as a self-storage or in accordance with the C1 neighborhood commercial district, a type B buffer is required one way or the other. So that's a site planning issue.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll second that motion, and I mean, I think it's important to note, as the adjacent property owner, and we hear your concerns and we understand, but understand that property is zone C1, can get developed without anybody coming in and asking for, and even offering you anything further that they're offering you. I mean, there are provisions, additional provisions in the code for the storage uses that he's acknowledged. He's also agreed to meet with you prior to site plan, so I mean, I think when all things are considered, I think you've got it pretty good that they're willing to work with you and try to make sure that your concerns are met and addressed, so. Just wanted to make sure that was added.
Okay, we have a motion, second. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Okay, motion carries.
Mr. Chair, the following item is item PC8. I believe that will be presented by Mr. William Vermillion.
Okay, William?
Good afternoon, William Vermillion, Planning Development, Economic Growth. Before you today is a substantial amendment to the Northridge MPUD PDE 247795. This substantial amendment is to add an additional 70 dwelling units to the previously approved 700 residential dwelling units and 60,000 square feet of non-residential that was approved in 2022. This project is abutting County Line Road North and is 1.25 miles from the Suncoast Parkway. Here's a rough location map showing this substantial amendment to the master plan unit development. A location map. The zoning map reflecting its current MPUD zoning. A future land use map, which I believe is not updated because that says Res 1. That looks like it was prior to this.
Is it now PD?
It is a PD flu now. So here's a rough contextual map showing you County Line Road as well as the existing Northridge MPUD. You do have the Pasco mine that exists to the east, as well as one currently approved MPUD, which is Land Trust number 76, which was approved for 120 multifamily units, 55 single-family detached, and 70,000 square feet of commercial office uses. Here is the proposed master plan. The commercial is on the frontage of the County Line Road. And this is a binding conceptual plan, but only for the additional 70 units which are being added. You can see those additional 70 units that are being added there in purple and in yellow in the middle of this conceptual plan. Currently, these additional 70 units are subject to the recently amended Policy Memo 26 that was approved by the Board of County Commissioners. This was a previously approved variation from the code from 901-6011. The applicant didn't provide a connection to the south, but that's in accordance with the previously approved MPUD in which that variation was approved by the BCC. They do provide an emergency access to the south. With this, this comes to you guys with, or this comes to the Planning Commission with a recommendation of approval with conditions to the Board of County Commissioners.
All right. Any questions? Okay.
Thank you very much.
Good afternoon. Barbara Wilhite, 6327 Grand Boulevard, Newport Ritchey, 34652.
And you've been sworn.
And I have been sworn, thanks to Clark. So we saw you with regard to this project in 2022. At that time, it was before you for 770 single-family residential units and 40,000 square feet of commercial. Couple things have happened since we saw you and you recommended approval to the BCC. I got to the board meeting and Commissioner Mariano said, I think 60,000 sounds better than 40,000. I said, we only did our traffic study for 40,000. So, but I'm trying to always work something out, which is what I do. You all know that. I said, all right, well, we'll agree to 60,000. We'll reduce our units to 700. Then we'll do the traffic study to justify the 60,000 requested by the commissioner and the 770, which is what we were proposing for our project and still are. So we have done that. The other thing that happened, interestingly enough, was that Hernando County terminated the sewer interlocal and said, we're not going to provide sewer to this area. So, and that went back and forth for a bit, and my client said, you know, we're going to actually construct this project. Sat down with the county through Mike Carballa, ultimately David Allen, and worked out a utility services agreement. Bring the utilities up Shady Hills Road, over County Line Road North, to this project area. It's an $8 million project, which the county is funding a part of it. So we certainly don't want now to be under, not providing density in this area, because the county needs those payers. Ultimately, they're making an investment in bringing water and sewer to this area. So that's what brought us to where we are today, which is we did the traffic analysis now for the 60,000 square feet of commercial that's already approved, the 70 additional units to make it 770, so that the paperwork was done properly. Probably could have just agreed to the 60 and 770 and not say anything about the traffic analysis was only done based upon 40,000, but I wanted to do it right. So we're back doing it right here before you, and then we've also wanted to tell you about the update. So there's no longer a reliance upon an interlocal with Hernando County. There's actually been a partnership between a developer, a substantial partnership between a developer and this county, so that the county is providing central water and sewer to its side of the county. The Hernando County side is growing, and our side, until that commitment was done by this developer and the county, our side was just blighting. So I think it's a good thing, and that's the history. It's a little bit different than normally what you see, so I wanted to make sure you understood that history. I'm not sure exactly what the public comment is, but we'll be ready to discuss it depending on what it is. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. All right. Who do we have on the list?
On this one, I have Mr. Ken Rakowski.
Mr. Burkowski, are you here?
Previously, we met on this about the,
Name and address for the record.
this development.
We need your
happens-
name and your address.
Okay, sorry. Ken Rakowski, 17835 Oxenham Avenue, Spring Hill.
Okay.
It's in the Leisure Hill subdivision, 1,000 acres, 651 lots. The big concern here, and it was, and Ms. Barber did not mention it, is that County Line Road never did get the funding to go ahead and make it into a 4-lane. FDOT has gone ahead and done numerous studies and recommended that it be done, but for some reason, the county just can't come up with the money to do it. So we're stuck with a traffic problem. Also, we have the issue of their west exit, which goes on to our Carlissimo, which 4 teenagers had died previously in a car crash when they came over the hill and impacted an oak tree. My other concern is the fact that it's on an ecological protection unit. And that property, my property, and all the properties around there do not have a drainage issue. We're at 100 feet elevation, dropping down to 80, and there are multiple depressions in that property that are direct drainage through conduits to the Weeki Wachee Springs. So my concerns are what's going to happen with all of the water that is now just going to flow, because there is no such thing as flooding there. Every time it rains, it just disappears. Debbie can come through, it's gone. I wonder, you know, since the flow from that goes at a rate of 1 mile per day, it's been, geological surveys already done it. It shows 2 conduits from 2 depressions that are on the property. So if we go ahead and change the contour of the land, what is going to happen with all that? Especially since the fact that we're all on wells. Every single property is on a well. So all the fertilizer, all the insecticides, runoff from cars, buildings, roofs, it's going straight into the ground. There is no drainage. I mean, there is no filtering. I understand my time's up. So
Oh, you got another minute.
Okay. But I'm just saying, you know, we have issues with the traffic right now. You can't turn on the County Line Road to go westbound off of Alexon. Alexon is the main road to go out of our subdivision to there. And it would intersect with Carlissimo, and you come over the hill for it. And when you get up to the corner, you have to sit there and wait, and hopefully, but now Lovano has opened up, so what people are doing now is going right and going to make a U-turn. So you sit there in their turn lane with your turn signal on, then a car could waiting for a chance to go, and they're coming up out of theirs with their turn signal on, and 2 cars go out onto the road at the same time while they're flying over County Line Road. So the extra homes, we're talking 10% more, which doesn't sound like much unless you're trying to fill up, you know, a bucket.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thank you. Who's next?
That is the only person I had
That's
signed up
all
to
on
speak
the
on
list,
this one.
okay.
Barbara Wilhite. So I have Mike Razor here, but let me just say a couple things overall. I forgot to update you on the other thing which happened was, although the county was unsuccessful in reaching an interlocal agreement with Hernando County on the sewer, they were successful at finally moving forward a interlocal agreement between the county and Pasco regarding County Line Road North. Now, do I know all the details? No. Staff, I'm sure, can update you regarding the status of County Line Road North. But the fact that they got the 2 jurisdictions working together and doing an interlocal agreement seems like a positive sign for me. The ecological planning unit, yes, it's an ecological planning unit, but there's no significance of that, unlike a corridor, ecological corridor. The planning unit just says you follow the same regulations that you follow normally in the code. That's how that was implemented. The answer regarding drainage is the same one that you guys just had the conversation regarding of how does drainage work in the development review process. But with that, we actually did the study for these 70 units, and Mike Razor can tell you about his analysis.
All right, thank you.
Good afternoon. Michael Razor with Razor Transportation Consulting, and I have been sworn. Our firm prepared the traffic study, the timing and phasing analysis for this project, approved by staff In regard to traffic, there is a good amount of traffic on County Line Road.
Michael, could you just state your address?
Oh, sure, absolutely. It's 19046 Bruce B. Downs Boulevard, number 308, Tampa 33647.
Thank you.
Thanks for the reminder. So as I was saying, there's a good amount of traffic on County Line Road. The way that our traffic study is done, or any traffic study is done, we look at segments, we look at intersections. The segment is bound by intersections to the east and west that are 4-lane segments. At Mariner to the west, at Anderson Snow to the east. The level of service that results from that analysis meets the county standards. I do agree that it's difficult to turn out onto County Line Road for full access if you're not making a right turn. This project proposes and has been conditioned with a traffic signal that will alleviate that for this particular project. And with that, I'm happy to answer any specific questions. Thank you.
Okay, any questions?
Just maybe one from staff that, I don't know if there's an update on, I heard the same thing that Barbara heard, that we have reached some sort of common ground on the county line widening project, but if there's any more updates about that anybody knows.
Crickets.
Oh, well. Heard it's moving forward, but I haven't heard the details.
Okay. So if there's no further questions, then I have a motion.
I'll make a motion for approval, PC 8.
We have a motion for approval, and do we have a second?
Second.
Have a second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Okay, motion carries.
Mr. Chair, the following item is PC 9, and that will be presented by Ms. Tammy Snyder.
Okay.
Good afternoon, Tammy Snyder, Planning,
Tammy.
Development, and Economic Growth. I have for you today the Suncoast Lakes MPUD PDE 247726. Here is a location map. I'm sure you're all familiar with it. The proposal is a zoning amendment from MPUD to MPUD to modify the master plan and conditions to reflect and memorialize various revisions that have occurred since 2009. The location is the southwest corner of the intersection of State Road 52 and Silver Palm Boulevard, extending east to the Suncoast Parkway. Here's the location map. The zoning map, it's MPUD and has various zoning districts around it. Context map. Nice big Sertoma Ranch Park. Here's the proposed master plan. And this is a staff-initiated modification to ensure that all MPUD documents reflect the intent, the entitlements, and growth pattern of the MPUD, and to memorialize and approve changes to the BCC-approved Suncoast Lakes MPUD approval in 2009. So there has been a few changes since 2009. There was a substantial modification to the Suncoast Lakes MPUD in 2009. There was another modification submitted approximately 2014 that for some reason didn't go anywhere, and it fizzled out, kind of withdrawn. A subsequent non-substantial modification appeared to build off of the 2014 not approved plan and conditions, and made some non-substantial modifications. But then there was another modification after that, made some more non-substantial modifications. So long story short, we just want to clean this all up and make sure that this MPUD knows exactly what it's doing, where it's going, and all that good stuff. There are some site plan approvals and some site plans under review currently based on this proposed plan that we're presenting today, because there has been the assumption that it was approved. So hopefully your agenda packet explains these changes. Basically, a lot of them are just moving some stuff around so that the MPUD itself makes more sense. There is an existing area to the south that is 515 platted residential lots. They're there, nothing's happening to them. There's some existing commercial, it's there, nothing's happening to that. We just want to clean up the vacant spaces and make them actually more usable for developers. And with that, we recommend approval with conditions.
All right, are there any questions? Here? All right, is there anybody in the audience who'd like to speak? Please come forward with your name and address, please.
Document to submit.
Sure.
Motion to receive and file?
Second?
Motion to receive and file, motion first and second, so all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Paul Bybee, 11544 Grovewood Boulevard.
We can help you pass them down if you want. Got it? All right. Very good.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. So they've added a lot of hotel on here. No, they say there's not many changes, but there's about 20 changes, as you can see. The red is my property. I bought it about a decade ago, and we built our home. Took me a couple years. Built it, designed it myself for my family. You see number 3, okay, is now they want to put a hotel there. It was slated as office before. If you look at the map where it says Palm, there's like a natural bowl there in the road. All the water collects there. Suncoast Lakes residents can't exit when there's a decent storm. My well pump goes underwater. It is right by the P in Palm. It floods often. There's a spring-fed creek that circulates through the property and empties out onto Hallelujah Land, the Griffins. Most of the residents against that little area, the wetlands there, they flood into their garages when there's a good-sized storm. The roads are bad. We can't get out of there either. With all this stuff going on with the U-Haul that was built, 4-story U-Haul, which I can see from like most of my windows now in my house, it's great. They put all the drainage in near that bowl. All the retention ponds were built south into that bowl area. So now my water tables, the whole neighborhood's water table's about 2.5, 3 feet right now. And it's getting worse and worse. We're seeing a lot more flooding in the whole county, and it's mostly in older neighborhoods like mine. I feel like if we keep building stuff there, especially a hotel on 3, where's the water gonna go? It's 2 acres. What kind of hotel are they gonna fit there? I know you can get the Marriott over at 54 and the toll road is on like 1.5 acres. So it's doable, yes, but where's all the water gonna go? There's a car wash already. There's people moving because the noise is just echoing over the preserve area into our neighborhood. I can hear it from inside my house. I called the commissioners several times before it was built, just asked them to turn it around the other way, put the exit the other way. I couldn't get anybody to respond. That was during the Fitzpatrick transition to Gary, so whatever. But my concern is the 2 and 4, there's nowhere else to put retention ponds. It's all retention ponds. They pumped out a natural lake 50 yards south into another hole. Killed all the fish, everything. I was fishing that pond when I was like 15, and they just moved it south 50 yards. Makes no sense, and we're running out of room, and I'm running out of time. Appreciate
You
it.
got plenty of time.
Well, I can keep going.
Now you're out, see? I'll give you a little extra.
Well, can I ask him a question?
Yeah, absolutely.
So, you mentioned the issue with 2 and 4. Is there something changing that's new today that wasn't approved back in 2008 or 9, whenever this was originally done?
Well, let's say in hotel and office. From commercial, 4 from commercial to office hotel. 3 to commercial/hotel from office.
John, I circled everything in red that's new.
My concern is the footprint of these larger complexes. The U-Haul already has 4 retention ponds that are massive. I don't know where they're gonna fit all this stuff, especially in that bowl. It's a substantial
How would the-
elevation change.
I can understand there are issues of a hotel versus commercial, maybe from a height perspective, or one might try to claim noise perspectives. I'm trying to figure out how that changes from a stormwater or flooding perspective. If I pave an area of land, it doesn't matter whether I put a hotel on it or a shopping center or it's just a parking lot. It's paved, it generates runoff. So that's what I'm trying to figure out, why the stormwater objection because of the change of use. I don't see one being developed any less intensely than the other.
Square footage wise, I would assume that certain things take up more space.
So, well, maybe I'm gonna ask the staff. So if they develop a hotel or they develop a commercial, are they required to do that in accordance with, for instance, like the C1 or the C2 district standards, which have certain lot coverages, that kind of thing?
That would be accurate, yes.
And floor area ratio.
And floor area ratios. So that's where I'm having a hard time drawing a distinction as to why there would be an additional stormwater problem. I could understand if you were trying to make a compatibility argument, but I'm just not seeing it from a stormwater. But maybe you can help me figure it
Compatibility as
out.
well, yeah.
Well,
Traffic too, that's a whole nother thing. We can't
Additionally,
even turn
John,
out
on
of
this-
there in the mornings.
John, additionally on the stormwater side, you know, mentioned parcels 2 and 4, and frankly, I don't know enough about the status and how this stuff was designed, but if I look at where parcels 2 and 4 are, I mean, that looks to me like all the stormwater's been put in place for the development. And if I look over there by parcel 3, there's a triangular parcel that's a standalone parcel that appears that was probably done, it has the same ownership, that was done in a similar way. Now, that's just my speculation, but I think all the stormwater's in place, is what I'm saying.
Yeah, that's just what I'm having a hard time trying to figure out. Okay, I understand there may be a change of use argument, I'm just not seeing it from a stormwater and flooding argument.
The triangular retention pond that you're speaking about is on the south of 3, on the corner of
Correct.
Silver Palm there.
Right.
Can we
That
see an
floods into the
aerial
creek,
of this?
which goes around, and it's built up massively, the sand and the runoff. So it's doing its job, but it's really not. There's one culvert, that's old metal one that goes under, our road's private, so we're responsible. There's one culvert that goes underneath the road, and it's metal, and it's old. And that's the only thing that transfers the water from our properties to Hallelujah Lands Lake.
So on this aerial, where is your property?
Pretty much where it says silver on the map, there, to the west of it.
Right there.
It's almost 10 acres, most of it's conservation land.
I was gonna say, it looks like a wetland from the aerial.
Yes.
That's
It
where
was
I'd
a peaceful
expect
place
water
to
to
live.
flow.
So you access MERCOT, that's how you get in and out?
Yes, sir. Previously, the original turn-in was where the car wash is now. And we made a deal to give that up, that piece of land, and then run MERCOT behind the gas station. And they paved our roads. But then they built a car wash on it and pointed it towards the neighborhood, the blowers. So that's nice.
Well, that's something we can't undo.
Yeah, I know.
You know.
Understood.
So basically, I think what I'm hearing from the engineers here is that based on the way they have this drainage set up, even if they build a hotel on that property, it's not gonna affect your drainage because they have a certain amount of coverage. They can't build a bigger footprint simply because they're a hotel. It's still the same lot coverage, still the same setback requirements, you know, from the roads, from the side yards, from the back. So what they build doesn't so much matter, it's what the restrictions are. So the restrictions are the same for any building that goes there, the footprint.
Well, and you're gonna be buffered by that wetland that's there too, right? You're at the very southern tip of that property, right?
And the side. Like
Yeah,
come
so
up-
you have Silver Pond Boulevard that's right next to the house. And then-
Yeah, but I can walk all the way to where the hotel would be. And I have a shed up to the west side of 3 with just lawn tools and stuff for maintaining the creek and mowing the front of the property. There's also a little ditch there that was created by some of the neighborhood guys to try to alleviate, and it's probably 20 foot in diameter, and it's just like a little overflow, and it works. And they'll just, since it's not probably legal, they'll probably just fill it in, I'm assuming.
Yeah, well, you never want to assume anything because I made that mistake before.
Yeah, it looks like it's about 700 feet to that number 3 from the back of your house there.
Yeah, I already have the U-Haul eyesore, so sitting out in my backyard looking at a hotel and a U-Haul wouldn't be great.
Well, the problem is nobody wants to build a home on 52.
Yeah.
Yeah. So no matter what we do, somebody's gonna end up building something commercial there.
Yeah, I understand that. I just was hoping it would be like some small doctor's offices or something like that, you know, 1 story.
Yeah.
The traffic is awful, too, getting in and out of there, especially in the morning, the racetrack crowd. You can't even turn left on the Silver Palm. It's crazy.
Yeah, there's a lot of that going on all over the place, so. Well, any other questions for Paul? It's Paul, right?
Yes, sir.
Yeah. Appreciate you coming and
Cool,
stating your
thanks.
concerns. And, yeah, any other questions from up here? Anything? Okay, thank you so much.
Is the party affiliated with this project here, like attorneys and whatnot? Are they present?
Yeah,
Okay. Thank you.
okay, thank you very much.
Thames Danner again. If I may just clarify the hotel entitlement just real quick. Back in 2009, it was just lumped into commercial as an allowed use. It was further clarified because hotels we generally allocate by beds. And so like the ITE trip manual will use that sort of information. They calculate the square footage, and then they can do the comparison to other sorts of things. So they separated out hotel just so that it could be compared to the rest of the commercial.
Okay. All right. So do you have anything to add, sir, back there? If you just come forward, please.
Mr. Chair and Planning Commission members, I just want to make sure that you understand this is a staff initiated.
But he,
Okay.
I thought he wanted to say something, so you
No,
gotta
I
get it on
just,
the record.
I just said that there's a traffic signal that we put in
Mhm.
at Silver Palm and 52. So there shouldn't be any reason why you can't turn in and out of that property.
Okay, all right. Very good. I just wanted to make sure I gave you an opportunity to speak. If you-
Any questions from
Yeah,
anybody?
give your name and address, please.
George Nicholas, 12322 Cassowary Lane, Shady Hills, Florida.
All right, George, thank you very much. Thought you were in trouble there for a minute, huh?
Well, we haven't voted yet.
That's all right. Okay, any further discussion? If not, do we have a motion?
This is number,
PC 9.
my
Oh, on the
track
draw
here.
these days.
Move to approve item PC 9.
I'll second. Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Not, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Okay, motion carries.
All right, Mr. Chair, Planning Commission members, Denise Hernandez, Planning, Development, and Economic Growth. As my colleagues bring up the PowerPoint presentation for this item, this is item PDE 240442. This is the second set of minor modifications to the Pasco County Land Development Code for 2024. This is the 74th amendment to the Land Development Code since the Land Development Code was restated in 2012. These proposed amendments were presented to the horizontal roundtable and interested parties meeting yesterday, September 18th, 2024. So we're going to go through these amendments fairly quickly. So the first section that is being modified is Chapter 200, Decision-Making Bodies and Officials, 204.1 Planning Commission. So this section, we're modifying it so that if a Planning Commission member's term expires, a member shall remain on the Planning Commission until such time as a new appointment is made. Following section is 300 Procedures, 304.2, point D, Public Notice Posted. Some of these changes are based on the Board of County Commissioners has asked us to modify our public notice signs, the way the signs look, so that the signs could look more like similar to those signs that are posted by Hillsborough County, where that the sign is larger, it's easier to read, it doesn't have handwriting on it, etc. I did note yesterday when I presented this to the horizontal roundtable and interested parties meeting that Elizabeth Blair and I will work on an effective date to this section, because it probably doesn't make a lot of sense for this section because the signs haven't been deployed yet per se. It would not make a lot of sense for this section to be effective shortly after the adoption, which is October 22nd. So that was noted and stated to the horizontal roundtable and interested parties meeting. So as continuing on this section, it basically states that the sign should be posted in accordance with the development manual. Currently, that section specifically states that the sign is to be purchased from Pasco County, and we will no longer be selling signs. We will have policies and procedures directing our stakeholders, our applicants, as to where they can purchase these signs from, and have a lot of clarity, and that will be in the development manual. Continuing on, 305.2B clarifies that the posted sign is to meet the specifications in development manual. 305.2B talks about the neighborhood meeting posting. So the Board of County Commissioners also wanted the same type of signs, the same size of signs, to actually also be for the neighborhood meeting notice. This was all discussed during the conversations when the Saddlebrook MPUD came to being. So that's another section that we're modifying. The next one is 307, continuance procedures. I don't know if you've driven down the road and seen how Hillsborough Signs has this red tape that says continued to. Well, the Board of County Commissioners wants, for transparency, for noticing requirements for the public hearing signs, to state that the item has been continued. That way, the folks who drive through that area can continue on noticing as to when the actual public hearing for the specific item will be held. The following sections, 310 and 311, it just adds clarifying language to the section. Some of the changes in both 310 and 311 talk about how they actually implement 177 Florida statutes, which is Senate Bill 812. So it allows folks to submit some of this information prior to the final plat. Additionally, there's some corrections in the language. So our Transportation Engineering Department, TED, used to be called had a different name, so we modified the name throughout. There were some items stricken in 310, which should have been in 311, so they were taken out of 310, placed into 311. The following section is 403.5 construction plans. That was noticed to be changed. There are no changes that are being made to that section, so just wanted to let you know about that. The next sections have to do with signs. So there are some clarifications in there that this came from our code compliance officers who were going out and taking a look at signs and like, well, this sign kind of has some characteristics of a snipe sign. So we clarified what snipe signs are and what snipe signs are not. Additionally, the section regarding temporary signs, because of Reed versus Town of Gilbert, where we have to treat all signs the same way, we and ran into some concerns during the election season where there were more than one temporary sign on a parcel. So during this time, applicants are allowed to have, or property owners are allowed to have a total of 5 signs per parcel. And that is 30 days prior to an election, and it has to be removed after that time. And additionally, it removes the prohibition of double-faced signs, so double-faced signs are allowed. Section 406.1.9, additional standards for signs in residential districts. We also added the allowance for a 10% architectural feature, which is not unlike what is allowed in commercial. This is for residential districts. The second section, the following section is ground signs in commercial districts. We wanted to add the word architectural because it said ornamental, so it now says ornamental/architectural. Section 406.10C2 signs, wall signs. It removes the term sidewalls from the disallowance of projection for a wall sign. Following section is the section on marquee, canopy, and awning signs. It clarifies that signs above canopies are not considered roof signs. This is something that came to us from our Building Construction Services Central Permitting team, that they were just concerned that perhaps this was a roof sign, and that was not the intent of the Land Development Code. Moving forward on that, this is this next item, which is Chapter 1000 Miscellaneous Structure Regulations, 1003 Gates, Fences, and Walls. This came from the Board of County Commissioners in that they had requested a prohibition on chain link fences, but the Board of County Commissioners wanted that prohibition to be removed. So as long as if the chain link fence is being placed on an industrial property, so as long as the chain link fence is vinyl coated, that they were fine with that. So we made that modification to the Land Development Code. The following section is non-conforming signs. This is something else that also came from our Board of County Commissioners. The Board of County Commissioners basically said, we would like for the county to enter into an agreement for the removal of a non-conforming sign, but allow the applicant some time to do that so that then they can have signage in the interim. And we did make those changes. We do have one of our stakeholders who's here, and I thank them for their patience because they've been here quite some time. They had requested they liked the changes that we had made, but made additional suggestions, and we did take those suggestions into consideration and did change the code and included their suggestions. That information was sent to you yesterday and today, and it was also sent to the clerk's office. Let's see, the next section is the mobility fee section having to do with the uniform procedures and provisions. It clarifies the timing of the process for which the county must be informed that development will be a community or subdivision that provides housing for persons who are 55 years of age and older. This came to us from our folks in Building Construction Services. Apparently, there was an instance that was it was very difficult to work through, that they told us that there were going to be a 55 and over after, and then there were some refunds that had to be done, and that was just very confusing. So we modified the language in that section. And then finally, Appendix A definitions, we're modifying the definitions of canopy sign, marquee sign, and awning sign. Additionally, we're modifying the definition of community residential home for it to be consistent with the state of Florida's definition in Florida statutes. And then we're also modifying the definition of veterinarian clinic, as there was a Scrivener's error in that definition. So we are asking that You find these changes, these minor modifications to Land Development Code consistent with the Pasco County Comprehensive Plan. These items will be going to the Board of County Commissioners for first reading on October 8th, 2024 at 1:30 in Dade City, and for adoption on October 2022nd, 2024 at 1:30 in Newport Ritchey, and I am here for any questions that you may have.
Okay, any questions?
I just have one.
Yes.
Denise, I was just looking at that 13021A,
Yes.
and I don't know if I'm missing something, but it goes, the last line should be determined prior to, and I don't see anything else, so it's like it stops there. Am I missing it or don't see it?
13021A, the county shall be informed at the pre-application meeting for the project that such community or subdivision is intended to provide housing for persons who are 55 years of age or older. Should this decision not be made prior to the pre-application meeting, notice to the county of the intent to provide housing for persons who are 55 years of age or older may occur at the time of an MPUD rezoning, but must be determined prior to, okay, so it should say the submittal of the construction plan application.
Okay.
I struck that by mistake. I will
Okay.
fix that.
Thank you.
I knew Chris had it come
Thank
for
you
a
so
reason.
much.
Chris would have never caught
Good
that.
catch, yeah, that's right.
It is a great catch, I apologize. That was my mistake. I hit the strike, it is bold and underlined and then stricken at the same time, so it is very confusing, yes. I agree with that, thank you.
You're welcome.
Okay, any questions?
That's it.
That's it?
Yep.
All right, anybody from the audience? Okay, questions or comments?
Good afternoon. My name is McCare King. I'm with the Office of iCard Merrill. Our office is located at 2033 Main Street, Suite 600, Sarasota, Florida 34237, and I have been sworn. I'm here today representing Benderson 85-1 Trust and 95 FLRPT LLC. They are the owners of Ridge Plaza, which is at 8601 Little Road. We're here today in support of the proposed amendment to LDC Section 1203.4. We want to thank staff and the County Attorney's Office for the work that they've put in on this and for working with us. We feel that these amendments better protect the rights of a private property owner, specifically for multi-occupancy parcels, and we would urge you today to vote in approval for those amendments to that Section 1203.4 of the LDC. I'm happy to answer any questions that you may have, but I want to respect the rest of your time.
Anything? Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Is there anyone else? If not, I hear a motion.
I'll move approval of the ordinance with the correction noted by Mr. Tonello.
Finding it compatible with the comprehensive.
Finding it compatible with the consistent with the comprehensive plan.
Second by Matt. And so, if all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Very good. Carries.
All right, that was the end of our agenda, but I do want to mention to the Planning Commission members that the Board of County Commissioners on Tuesday approved the public hearing schedule for 2025. It was kind of too late, and we couldn't add that to the civic clerk record, but I will send those schedules to the Planning Commission members, and, of course, do not reply all type of a thing.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank everybody for coming today, and
Motion to adjourn.
there you go. Second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
pollutants directly into our lakes and rivers, creating an unhealthy environment for fish, waterfowl, and other aquatic animals. Storm drains are meant for clean rainwater. Most other discharges are illegal. If you suspect an illicit discharge, please contact Pasco County Department of Public Works at 727-834-3611.
Hey, I'm Kevin Jenkins, Water Quality Supervisor for Pasco County. What you see behind me tends to create a lot of questions for our department. People ask all the time, why are you wasting all that water, or why is that thing still running? The answer is simple, we're not. What you see happening right here is a state-regulated process called water quality flushing. It happens every day to keep your drinking water safe. Our team is responsible for checking more than 122,000 connections all over Pasco County. As you can imagine, it's a daunting task, but it's work we do proudly and take seriously. We service both residential and commercial connections and flush water mains periodically for preventative maintenance. It helps get rid of impurities, sediment, and biologic growth. This work can be done by a team member or by an automatic flushing device known as an AFD. AFDs can flush pipes remotely. So there you have it, and now you know. That's our flushing process in a nutshell. Pasco County works hard to maintain the best water quality. This is just one way we get to that point. To learn more about this and other Pasco County Utilities information, please visit our website at mypasco.net.
If you qualify as a special needs client, your emergency Go Kit should include everything you need to maintain your care regimen and optimal health. This includes all your medications. Once a disaster is declared, Floridians may obtain an extra prescription refill even if you have recently filled it. That's important since you should bring 10 days of medications to the shelter. Ideally, bring the original pill bottle since it has your name, the prescription number, the medication name and dosage, as well as the names of both the pharmacy and your physician. If you need special food or medical supplies, bring those with you. Have enough oxygen to get you to and from the shelter safely, and don't forget, bring your concentrator or nebulizer. While packing, grab your glasses, hearing aid, and batteries, wound care supplies, prosthetics, walker or wheelchair, along with a pair of socks and closed-toe shoes. It's very important to carry copies of contact information with you as well. Include the names and numbers of family members, doctors, your pharmacy, home health provider, and your oxygen supplier. Bring your insurance card, your photo ID, and a copy of your care plan. If you have a Do Not Resuscitate form, pack the yellow original form. The most important thing you can bring is your caregiver. A cot will be assigned to you, so ensure the person taking care of you brings their own small air mattress. Bring supplies for your service animal if you have one, and watch our Pet Inclusive Kit video so you know what to pack for them. Planning and preparing ahead of time can help lower your stress level and will keep you organized. That allows you to remain healthy during an emergency. There is no bedside nursing care at the shelter, but there will be assistance available. Planning on your part ensures a smoother stay, so pack that special needs Go Kit now. If you have any questions, call the Pasco County Emergency Management staff by dialing 727-847-8137.
Here in Florida, we're no stranger to rain, and Pasco County Public Works wants to show you how we're working to improve drainage along your roads. Our crews work hard to keep your roads in great shape, and you'll notice after a heavy rain, we often see ponding or standing water on the road that doesn't easily drain away. Ponding can be a problem for a couple reasons. Most importantly, it can be a safety issue, because when you drive through standing water, you can start to hydroplane and lose control. So why does ponding happen? In most cases, it's because the shoulder doesn't slope away from the road, so the water doesn't have anywhere else to go. Pasco crews are always on the lookout for these problem areas and have a relatively easy way to fix them. Most Pasco roads that have water ponding problems have a sod curb, where the grass grows right up next to the road. Our crews use this machine, called a grater, to shave off about 3 feet of sod running along the road. This creates a slope, allowing water to run away from the road. Our crews also use a loader to scoop debris and a sweeper to clean the worksite. Then finishing touches are added, like new sod or stone to prevent the fresh soil from washing away. And just like that, ponding is gone and your roads are protected. This easy, cost-effective fix doesn't alter the rights of way or affect your property in any way. Thanks for watching, and please visit mypasco.net to learn more about how Pasco is working for you.
So you sign up for Pasco County's Special Needs Registry. That means you have a bed at the special needs shelter if you want one, right? Nope. Registration does not guarantee you a bed at a special needs shelter. It's simply registration, not a reservation. You should register with the Pasco County Special Needs Program before hurricane season begins. And you can register right on our website. Just go to pascoemergencymanagement.com and click on the Special Needs link. Then, if Pasco County calls for evacuations and you live in an evacuation zone, we will call you to find out if you plan to stay in the special needs shelter. And Pasco County Emergency Management will provide transportation to and from the shelter if you need it. So remember, planning ahead is the best way to keep everyone safe. The special needs shelter should really be your last resort. If you think you'll need to stay in a special needs shelter, watch our videos about who qualifies to stay at one and what you should bring. Make your emergency plans before you need to evacuate. Don't wait until a disaster is heading our way to register as a special needs patient.